Hello, dear DSC candidates. Welcome back to my Grammar for Success channel. I am Koresh Babu, a retired lecturer in English from Hyderabad. In this video, I am going to explain the concept of approach, method, and technique in the language teaching and pedagogy. I therefore request all of you to pay a very good attention to this small topic till the end without skipping it in the middle. I also request all of you to consider subscribing to my channel and also sharing this video with all your friends who are also going to take the DSC examination along with you very shortly. Thank you so much. Now let's get into this small video. Definition of method, approach, and technique. So these are the basic aspects that every student of methodology should understand. Okay, if a student can understand these three important aspects thoroughly well, he can easily understand the various things that are going to be taught in this methodology. So let us now try to understand what these three important aspects are. Okay, and here you pay attention. Some introduction is also given for these three things. In language teaching and pedagogy, you know very well, whenever you want to teach some language or whenever you want to learn some language, and pedagogy, okay, methodology, approach, method, and technique are key concepts. These are the three very important concepts that help structure instruction. That means that help structure instruction means that help systematize the way of teaching. So the way of teaching will become systematic. Okay, if the way of teaching is in a systematic way, the students or the learners can understand it thoroughly well without any difficulty. So that is why, see, these three concepts help structure instruction. Structure means systematize. Okay, they're making systematic what instruction. Instruction means the teaching of language. That is called instruction. Okay, they are interconnected, and all these three aspects or concepts are interconnected. So there is some interrelationship between these three words. There is interconnection between these three words. Even though they are interconnected, they have distinct meanings. They have separate meanings. They have separate usage. So one cannot be used in the sense of the other. That is the meaning. This approach cannot be used in the sense of method. Method cannot be used in the sense of technique, and so on. So though these three are interconnected, they are used separately. So let us try to understand about each and every aspect of this methodology. Right, and here you pay attention. First one is approach. Approach means what? Very simple. A particular way or path of teaching and learning. So the meaning of this approach is clearly written here. The approach means to come near or to draw near, samipinchuta, something like that. How do you want to approach some language? So some rules are there, some ways are there, some methods are there. So that's why, with the help of the ways and we can say methods only, you can approach some language. That means you can learn some language. Approaching a language means learning a language. That's so simple and all that. So here approach means what? A particular way, a particular path of teaching some language or learning some language. Teaching some language or learning some language. So that is there. Okay, right. And here you pay attention. Some definition is also given for this approach. What is that? An approach is a very broad, say, theoretical framework. It's a broad theoretical framework. All theory will be there. Okay, and that describes how to teach. What does this theoretical framework do? It describes how to teach. It tells you how to teach and how to learn a language. Okay, how to teach a language, how to learn a language. These two are very important. If you are a teacher, you should know how to teach a language. If you are a student, you should know how to learn a language. So teaching a language and learning a language, that is indicated by this broad theoretical framework. That broad theoretical framework itself is called approach. Okay, that is called approach, right? And here it is based on a set of principles or ideas about how a language works. So here it is totally based on a set of principles, set of rules or some ideas about how a language works. For example, if you want to learn English, you have to just look at the rules of that English language. the framework of that English language, the theoretical framework of that English language. Okay, so whenever you learn that grammar and all that, you can speak wonderful English and all that. So only whenever you know some grammar, the grammar rules, grammar principles, then only you can speak that particular language. So here, that's why this approach is based on a set of principles. Set of principles means set of rules, set of ideas about how a language works. And one more important point is there, it guides the entire teaching process. This approach guides the entire teaching process. It controls the entire teaching process. It guides the entire teaching process. And here one more point is there. This term was first used by Anthony E.M. in 1965. So this approach, this term was first coined by this person, Anthony E.M. in 1965. So this is also a very important aspect. Okay, right. Now let's move on to learn other important things about this approach. Come on. In simple terms, it tells us what form of the language needs to be taught. Here, this is also an important point. In simple terms means, in simple words, this approach tells us what form of the language. That means what rules of the language, what style of the language, what matter of the language needs to be taught. For example, if you want to speak English, you are to be taught some tenses. You are to be taught the use of articles, the use of prepositions, the use of pronouns and all such things. So whenever you learn all these important things, you can speak some language. So this approach tells us what form of the language, what aspects of the language, okay, what rules of the language need to be taught. That is important. So that's why it tells us like that. That is nothing but approach. And here you pay attention. It is a particular way. This approach is what? A particular way. If you want to learn some language, you have to choose the particular way by which only you can learn that language. So here, this approach is nothing but a particular way or particular system of teaching and learning. So it is a particular way and a system of teaching and learning a language based on its theory. Okay, so it has got its own theory. Suppose you want to learn English. This English grammar book is there. Wren and Martin grammar book is there. David Green grammar book is there. So that grammar book is nothing but theory. Okay, and it tells us the particular way or system of teaching and learning that language based on that theory, based on that grammar. It tells us about that particular way. So the grammar is there. How to teach that grammar to the students to make them learn the language? So that system is very important. That way is very important. That approach is very important. Only if you can teach that language in the proper approach, in the proper way, in the proper system, then only the students can learn that language or pick up that language. So that is the point. That's why this approach is nothing but a particular way or system of teaching and learning a language based on its theory. Okay, next point. It's an overall plan. You can understand about this approach from any of these important points. It's an overall plan. It's a particular way. Before you climb Mount Everest, what happens? The mountaineers, what do? They have a plan. Oh, you have to go like this, then like this, then like this, then like this. You have to reach the top of that Everest. So here they will have a plan. Suppose you want to finish up the syllabus for some class. You will have some plan. This month you have to teach these items. Next month these items. Third month these items. Fifth month, sixth month. So you will have a teaching plan. So here also to learn a language, there is a plan. That about that plan, this approach tells you. That's why approach is nothing but an overall plan by which a language can be taught systematically. You can easily understand all these important points because I have written all of them in a simple and easy language. Okay, it's an overall plan by which a language can be taught. Not only teaching, but learnt. That's also there. So a language can be taught, a language can be learnt systematically, methodically, oka paddhati prakaranga. You cannot learn any language in a hodgepodge manner. అడ్డగోలుగా నేర్చుకుంటే వచ్చేది కాదు లాంగ్వేజ్. యూ మస్ట్ లెర్న్ ఇట్ ఇన్ ఎ సిస్టమాటిక్ వే. ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ యూ మస్ట్ లెర్న్ అబౌట్ ద పార్ట్స్ ఆఫ్ స్పీచ్, దెన్ యూ మస్ట్ లెర్న్ అబౌట్ ద ప్రొనౌన్స్, దెన్ యూ మస్ట్ లెర్న్ అబౌట్ ద ఆర్టికల్స్, దెన్ యూ మస్ట్ లెర్న్ అబౌట్ ద టెన్సెస్. బిఫోర్ you learn that about the tenses, you must learn about the helping verbs and main verbs. So there are so many important things, if whenever you learn that language by that way or in that plan, okay, you can reach the what is the target. Okay, you can learn that language. Okay, that is very important. So in teaching that language or learning that language, this tells us an overall plan. So that is there. And you go to the next one. It helps the teacher decide which way is suitable for teaching the language. There are so many ways of teaching some language. For example, English is there. There are so many ways of teaching this language. So a teacher can take up any way by which he or she can teach that language to the students. So that's why it helps the teacher decide which way you can take up this way and teach the students English, and you can take up this method or this way, this way, this way. There are so many ways, there are so many plans. By any one of those plans, by any one of those ways, you can teach the students that particular language. I'm just taking the example of English, but any language you can teach your students only by following any one of the ways or any one of the plans which you like very much, which you feel comfortable, which you feel very easy in teaching. నీకు ఏది ఈజీగా నువ్వు చెప్పగలుగుతావు అనుకుంటే ఆ పద్ధతిలో చెప్పేసి. ఫస్ట్ యూ టీచ్ దెమ్ ఆర్టికల్స్, దెన్ పార్ట్స్ ఆఫ్ స్పీచ్, దెన్ ప్రొనౌన్స్, దెన్ టెన్సెస్. As you please. Some teachers will directly teach the students about the tenses, thereafter parts of speech, thereafter article, thereafter preposition, thereafter articles. So something. They teach this theory in a systematic way. So different teachers will follow different methods, different plans in teaching that particular language to their children, to their students. That is there, right? And here one more important point is there. It may consist of several methods. This approach may have several methods. Approach is there. So this is the way to teach English. So to teach that you can say English, there are so many methods. This approach consists of several methods. You can teach English by this method, by this method, by this method, by this method. There are so many methods. So approach means the way of teaching that language. And in order to teach that language, again some methods are also there. You can follow this X method, you can follow Y method, Z method, P method, Q method. You can follow any one of these methods and teach that language. The ultimate goal is what? Teaching that language to the students or learning that language, whatever it is, right? And here you pay attention. It does not just tell us how to teach. Approach doesn't just tell us how to teach. It tells us what to teach. It is not enough to learn how to teach, but what to teach. What to teach is very important. ఎలా చెప్పాలనేది కాదు, ఏమి చెప్పాలనేది ముఖ్యము. ఇగో ఇలా చెప్పాలి, ఓకే, అలా చెప్పాలంటే ఏమి చెప్పాలి, దిస్ ఈస్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. So this is all about this approach. This is a beautiful aspect. Now, if you get any idea about this, it would be better. Okay, now let's move on to learn about the second concept of the pedagogy. Some examples are given here. What is that? Communicative language teaching. This is one approach. Many approaches are there. This is one of them. This approach focuses on real-life communication and interaction rather than just on grammar teaching and translation. So, if you follow this approach, you are to teach the students the real-life communication and interaction with one another. That is there. Instead of just teaching them only grammar and translation. Okay. This advises the teachers not to just teach grammar and translation, but only real life communication and interaction. So real life communication, interaction, that is very important. If the students are trained in the real life communication and interaction with one another, they can pick up that language very quickly and very easily also. If you can just simply teach grammar and translation, if you do these two things, they cannot pick up that language. They may translate the things accurately, no problem about that. They can learn grammar thoroughly well. Okay, no doubt about that. But they cannot speak out. Only if you train them in the real life activities, what happens? They can pick up real life communication. If you make them interact with one another, then what happens now? They can pick up speaking skills and all that. So this communicative language teaching, this approach will aim at making the students pick up language very quickly rather than just learning grammar and translation. That's all. ఏదో గ్రామర్ ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ నేర్చుకున్నంత మాత్రం ఇంగ్లీష్ రాదు వాడికి. Real life situations, real life activities are to be taken up. Then only they can pick up some English language or any language, whatever it is. Here we are talking about, because we are learning English methodology. That's why I am giving you the example of this English. So if you want to pick up this English language, real life activities are very important. Interaction with one another in English, in the target language, is very important. What is our target language? Learning English. English is our target language. You go to one more example is given. Grammar translation approach is there. It's yet another kind of approach. So through this grammar translation approach also, you can teach your students about English and all that. Okay, you can teach your students some language. Okay, grammar translation. This approach emphasizes translating text and learning grammar rules explicitly. Explicitly means openly. That means the teacher gives the rules first of all, then the teacher will give you examples. Rule first, examples next. That is called deductive way of teaching. Inductive way of teaching means, first some examples are given, then you have to find out you have to discover the rule. So that's called inductive way of teaching grammar. Inductive way of teaching grammar, deductive way of teaching grammar, all these aspects are there. I'm going to take up all of them in the days to come in various other videos, because I'm determined to teach all methodology aspects from now onwards. So this is the first one. These two are two different approaches. The teachers can adopt any one of them. There are so many approaches. Here I have given you only two of them, but there are several approaches. A teacher can adopt any one of those approaches according to her, according to his convenience and understanding. తనకు అర్థమైన దాన్ని బట్టి, తన కన్వీనియన్స్, సౌలభ్యాన్ని బట్టి ఆ టీచర్ ఏదైనా పద్ధతిని చూజ్ చేసుకొని ఆ లాంగ్వేజ్ చెప్తే బాగుంటుంది. సో దట్ ఈస్ దేర్, రైట్. అండ్ నౌ లెట్స్ మూవ్ ఆన్ టు ద నెక్స్ట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద పెడగాజీ. సో సెకండ్ వన్, మెథడ్ ఈస్ దేర్. This is yet another very important concept of pedagogy. Method is there. Method means, directly speaking, style or manner or strategy or procedure. Okay, by any one of these names you can call it. Method means paddhati. Paddhati means, that is, in other words, in English, this is any one of them you can use, right? And here you pay attention. Definition: a method is a systematic way of teaching a language. Very simple. The red colored words are very important. A systematic way. Method means what? A systematic way of teaching some language. Whatever may be the language. Here we are talking about English. So the systematic way of teaching English is called method, that follows a specific approach. So approach means the way, the plan. In that plan, some methods are there. Okay. So in that approach, you follow some method and you start teaching that language. So this method follows some specific approach. It includes a set of procedures. Method means it is a systematic way of teaching, and therefore it depends largely on the set of procedures and principles. Okay. And you have to teach that language depending on the set of procedures and principles in the classroom. You cannot teach that language as you please. You must follow certain procedures, certain principles, because method means a systematic way of teaching. ఒక క్రమ పద్ధతిలో చేసే బోధనని, that is called method. Some examples are also given here to make you understand this one. Direct method is there, based on the natural approach. So in natural approach, there is this method, direct method. What happens in the direct method? Students learn through listening and speaking without translating. This is the direct method. You teach that target language to your students only by making them listen and speak without even translating. Without translating the sentences into mother tongue, you are teaching them that target language, that English language. No translation is there. Only listening is there, speaking is there. So listening and speaking, through these two skills only, the teacher is expected to teach that language to her students or to his students. Okay, and grammar is taught inductively. Inductively means yes, rule discovery is there. That means first examples are given, and from these examples the students are instructed to pick out the rule. Examples first, then rule, that is called inductive method, and first rule, then examples, that is deductive method. So you can teach English grammar in two ways: deductively, inductively. Deductively means what? First giving the rules and giving some examples thereafter. That type of method is called deductive method, and inductive method is also there. Through this method also you can teach the students English grammar. First, what do? You give some examples on the board, and then you ask your students to find out the rule in those examples. So this is called inductive method of teaching grammar. Deductive method of teaching grammar, inductive method of teaching grammar. About these things, in the coming days, I'm going to tell you very elaborately, then you can understand that. But here in this direct method, the grammar is taught inductively. Inductively means rule discovery. Examples are given, you have to discover the rule. So this is the direct method. For this concept of method, one example is given here. Now I'll give you one more example to make you understand this. Audio lingual method. Audio lingual method means based on behaviorist approach. So under this approach, this is the method, okay, we follow. What is that? Drilling is there, repetition is there, habit formation are key techniques. So in this audio lingual method, drilling will be done. So on the board, what is that? Some sentences are given. You have to drill those sentences. You have to repeat those sentences. Okay, drilling, through repetition, through habit formation, the target language will be taught to the students. So this is called audio lingual method. So in this way, for this method, two examples are given. Whatever may be the method, in the method you have to follow certain procedures and principles, because method itself means a systematic way of teaching. There are so many methods of teaching the target language, the English language, but you have to choose the one that you like very much. You can teach according to the standard of the students. The teacher will choose which method will suit them. Whether the grammar translation method will be suitable for them, or the direct method is suitable for them, or audio lingual method is suitable for them. Which method is suitable for them? The teacher can only decide that on seeing the students. And now let's move on to learn about the next important concept of pedagogy. Technique is there. Technique means what technique do you adopt in order to teach the target language, in order to teach English to your students? Technique is very important. Technique means some special skill or dexterity. Dexterity means mental skill. What technique do you want to follow? So here definition is given. A technique is a special skill or activity the teacher uses in the classroom to put across his teaching. To put across means to convey his teaching, to teach the students. To put across, beautiful phrasal verb. Put across means to convey forcefully his teaching. తాను చెప్పేదాన్ని ఖచ్చితంగా బలంగా పిల్లలకు చెప్పడానికి. So the teacher will adopt some special skill, some specific activity. That specific skill or activity itself is called a technique. ఆ విధంగా టీచర్ తాను చెప్పాలనుకున్నది పిల్లలకు చెప్పడానికి తాను ఎంచుకున్నటువంటి ఆ స్కిల్ ను, that itself is called what? A technique. Example, using blackboard. Some teachers will teach the students through this technique of using the blackboard. Some teachers will adopt the technique of teaching some language through the reading a story, some other technique. And here explaining a concept, that's another technique. And illustrating a point. Illustrating means explanation of something through examples and pictures and all that. Patalu gistu, examples istu cheppadani, illustration. So different teachers will adopt different techniques in order to teach the students whatever they want to teach. Okay, that is a technique. About the technique you have now understood, and here it is the practical application of teaching principles in the classroom. So you are applying these teaching principles practically. You are applying the teaching principles practical in the classroom. One example, what is that? Role playing is there. That is used in CLT, communicative language teaching. The communicative language teaching approach will give top priority to real life activities. So real life means some role play must be there. Role play means what? 2 students or 3 students will come together and they will play the role. They act out the roles of some situation. 2 students will be seated at a table. Another student will come. That's a kind of restaurant role play. The person, sir, what do you want, sir? Dada, I want a plate vada, a plate dosha, something like that. And what do you want, sir? I want a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, something like that. And what else do you want, sir? This person asks. Then this man says, no, nothing. You just bring first of all of them, and later on, I'll tell you. So he will say something. This is a kind of a role play. The role of waiter is played by one student. The role of a customer is played by some other student. So playing or acting out the roles of the characters of some situation itself is called role playing. ఒక సన్నివేశంలోని ఆ పాత్రలను పిల్లలు గనుక అలా దాన్ని ప్లే చేస్తే దట్స్ కాల్డ్ రోల్ ప్లే. రోల్ ప్లేయింగ్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ రోల్ ప్లేయింగ్ ఇస్ ఎ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ టెక్నిక్, right? And here students act out real life situations to practice speaking. So role play means this is only that the meaning is given here. Students act out real life situations. Restaurant situation is there, and railway booking center is there, or some bus station is there. Some many things are there. Okay, and many real life situations to practice speaking. In order to practice speaking, they act out real life situations. This will take place in communicative language teaching. That's called role play. Only by acting out real life situations, they can pick up language very quickly, because that will give them ample practice in speaking. Speaking lo manchi practice avutundi. What do you want, sir? I want a cup of coffee. What else do you want, sir? Then no, nothing. First of all, you bring me the coffee. It should be very hot, something like that. And okay, sir, he'll go. And afterwards, what else do you want, sir? Inkem kavali, sir? So nothing. You give me the bill. So something. So some small situation. So some small situations are acted out. ఇలా ఒక 2-3 సార్లు సిచ్యువేషన్స్ యాక్ట్ అవుట్ చేస్తే పిల్లలకి మంచి బెరుకుతనం పోతుంది. That kind of fear complex will go, and the children will be able to speak that target language, that English language very fluently, without any fear, without any shyness. You know very well, this fear and shyness, these two are called inhibitions of language. Shyness. చాలా మంది ఇంగ్లీష్ మాట్లాడకపోవడానికి ఈ రెండే కారణం. భయం, ఎవరేమనుకుంటారో భయం. కొంతమంది సిగ్గుతో మాట్లాడలేరు. ది షైనెస్ అండ్ ఫియర్, దీస్ టూ ఆర్ కాల్డ్ ఇన్హిబిషన్స్, అవరోధాలు. యాజ్ లాంగ్ యాజ్ యూ హ్యావ్ దిస్ ఫియర్, యూ కెనాట్ స్పీక్ ఇంగ్లీష్ లాంగ్వేజ్. As long as you have this shyness, you cannot speak English in your life. So if you can just get rid of them, you can speak a very beautiful English. అది తప్పైందయ్యా ఫస్ట్ మాట్లాడడం. సో ఇలా తప్పులు పోయినా మాట్లాడడం అనేది దట్స్ పాసిబుల్ ఓన్లీ ఇన్ ద కమ్యూనికేటివ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ టీచింగ్ ఓన్లీ. Because if you make mistakes, the teacher is there to correct you. But in the real life, what happens, nobody is there to correct you. So that danger is there. That's why, in the classroom, the teacher allows the students to act out real life situations. There's a beautiful technique. This technique can be played under this communicative language teaching approach. And now let's move on to other things. Translation exercises. This is yet another technique. Okay, translation exercises. If you can translate some sentences into your mother tongue, or from mother tongue to English, the target language, that will be really wonderful. That's also beautiful. Okay, and used in the grammar translation method. In this method, this is a beautiful technique. Some sentence is given as I am going to college. Translation, change it into Telugu. నేను కాలేజీ వెళ్తూ ఉన్నాను. Some ఆమె వంట వండుతూ ఉంది. She is cooking meals, or she is preparing meals, something like that. అతడు చెట్లకు మొక్కలకు నీళ్లు పెడుతున్నాడు. He is watering the plants. From Telugu to English to Telugu, translation exercises must be done. ఇవి నిజంగా నేను కూడా సుజాత స్పోకెన్ ఇంగ్లీష్ అని ఒక 21 years నడిపాను నల్గొండలో. So at that time, I used to give more examples like this. Students translate sentences between their native language and English. Native language is nothing but their mother tongue. Whatever may be the mother tongue. Our mother tongue is Telugu, but what about the mother tongue of Tamil Nadu people? Tamil. Karnataka people, Kannada. Kerala people, Malayalam. So that's why now I have used this word, native language. Whatever may be the native language of that student. From that language to English, English to native language. It's a beautiful exercise, I think. Okay, you can pick up that target language very easily. Right, and here drilling. Drilling is very important, used in the audiolingual method. In this method, drilling is only used. Drilling means you have to drill, you have to repeat. Okay, and how? Let us see that students repeat phrases after the teacher. This is drilling. To put across, to convey forcefully. To put across, convey forcefully. To put to death, to kill. To put to death, to kill. To put an end to bring something to an end. So if you can read English aloud, the tongue will be twisted very smoothly. And whenever you want to speak English, automatically the words will roll on your tongue and come out. అలా ఇంగ్లీష్ నువ్వు గట్టిగా రోజు ఒక 15-20 minutes ఒక ప్యాసేజ్ తీసుకొని గడగడ చదవండి. నో మీనింగ్ నథింగ్. నోటికి ఇంగ్లీష్ అలవాటు అవుతుంది. అప్పుడు నువ్వు ఇంగ్లీష్ మాట్లాడడానికి బెరుకుదనం ఉండదు, భయం ఉండదు నీకు. నువ్వు వద్దనుకున్న నోట్లో నుంచి నాలుక మీద నుంచి వర్డ్స్ అలా రోల్ అవుతూ బయటకు వచ్చేస్తుంటాయి. దట్ ఈస్ ద మ్యాజిక్. చదవక ఇంగ్లీష్ ముక్క చదివితే అది తొత్తర్లు పోతుంటాయి. సో దట్స్ వై నో వాట్ ఐఎమ్ ఆస్కింగ్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ టు టేక్ అప్ సమ్ ప్యాసేజ్, some newspaper passage or whatever may be the English passage. You read it aloud. So really loud reading for about 10-15 minutes every day in the morning will give you a lot of benefits. English brahmananga ravadaniki, that is only very important. I too practiced that. My father asked me to read it aloud. So smoothness vachestundi, maata tottarabodu, smoothness. So that's called drilling. With this the three important concepts, approach, method and technique, are over. I hope you have understood these small important things, and now I would like to hold a very small test on these three important aspects. If you have thoroughly understood all about these three aspects, you can easily answer those 20 questions I have given here in this exercise. You can do that exercise. Please, under each topic, I'm preparing some questions. Then you have to do that exercise only to check your comprehension. నువ్వు అర్థం చేసుకున్నావా లేదా తెలవాలంటే ఇప్పుడు ఇచ్చే ఎక్సర్సైజ్ నువ్వు చేయాలి. కమ్ ఆన్, లెట్ us do it now. Multiple choice questions on approach, method and technique. Okay, and here, what is an approach in language teaching? So 4 options are given: a specific classroom activity, a set of procedures for teaching a language, a theoretical framework or belief about how language is learnt, a rule-based system for teaching grammar. So question is read out and options are also read out for you. So you are only to choose the relevant answer. Okay, now you move on to the next question. What does a method in language teaching refer to? A broad philosophical perspective on language learning, a structured step-by-step plan for teaching based on an approach, a teacher's personal way of explaining concepts, a specific teaching activity used in class. Go to the third question. A technique in language teaching is, what is a technique? Okay, a specific classroom activity used to implement a method, a broad philosophy of language learning, a theory about language acquisition, a fixed rule for teaching grammar. You only know the answer. You please think about all these questions and think about the options given. Don't get confused and try to answer them correctly as far as possible. Right, and now let's move on to other questions. Which of the following is an example of an approach? Grammar translation method, task-based learning, communicative language teaching, role-playing activity. Fifth question. The direct method is an example of an approach, a method, a technique, a strategy. Sixth question. Which of these is an example of a technique? The audiolingual method, drilling exercises, the structural approach, the communicative approach. Seventh question. Which of the following statements is true? A technique is broader than an approach. A method is based on an approach. A method is a specific activity in the classroom. An approach is more detailed than a method. You know, this was a beautiful question. You can easily answer it. Okay, right. Now you move on to other questions. Eighth question. Which of the following is not a method? The silent way, the direct method, task-based language teaching, pair work. Ninth question. The grammar translation method follows which type of approach? Communicative, structural, natural, functional. You go to other questions. 10th question. Which of the following best describes the relationship among approach, method, and technique? A method leads to an approach, which leads to techniques. An approach determines methods, and methods use techniques. A technique is a collection of approaches and methods. Methods and techniques are unrelated to approaches. You know this very well. This is also an important question. 11th question. In language teaching, an approach is based on teachers' personal preferences, practical exercises only, theories of language and learning, individual student needs. Come on, now let's move on to other questions. 12th question. Which of the following best defines the difference between a method and a technique? A method is a broad set of teaching principles, while a technique is a specific activity. A technique is a broader than a method. A method refers to classroom procedures, while a technique refers to beliefs about learning. A technique is a system of instruction, while a method is a single activity. You go to the next question. 13th question. Which of these is an example of a method? Storytelling, the silent way, mind mapping, writing practice. 14th question. Which of these is an example of a technique? Grammar translation, communicative language teaching, role playing, the audiolingual method. 15th question. What is the role of techniques in language teaching? Role of techniques. Okay. Techniques have got their own value in the language teaching. They provide general theories of learning. They are specific activities that help implement a method. They determine the overall philosophy of language instruction. They replace approaches and methods. 16th question. A teacher uses dictation to reinforce spelling in an ESL classroom. This is an example of spelling dictation. What is this? An approach, a method, a technique, a strategy. What is this? You can easily identify this. You can easily give the answer for this question. Now you move on to other questions. 17th question. Which of the following is not a characteristic of an approach? It's not a characteristic of an approach. What is that? It is based on language learning theories. It provides a framework for methods. It includes specific classroom activities. It guides how a language should be taught. 18th question. The communicative approach emphasizes memorization and repetition, translation of texts, interaction and real-life communication, grammar-based instruction. 19th question. Which of the following represents the correct sequence from broadest to most specific? Method, approach, technique, or technique, approach, method technique, technique, method, approach. Which is the right order of these three important aspects? Okay, right. Last question. Which of the following best describes the total physical response, TPR method? So I'm going to talk to you about all these methods in the days to come, in the videos I'm going to make very shortly. I have prepared all the notes on all these aspects, and my job is now only to make a video and upload it. That's the only job I have now set before me, because I have taken a lot of time now. I have prepared so many notes now. I have followed your AP methodology books, book 1, book 2, and TG methodology book, that is red book. You always call it a red book. It's not a red book, because in Andhra, red book, green book, yellow book, that political terminology they were using. But that's the methodology book of the TG DSC people. So I have got these 2 books with me. They are there on the table. So I'm following these 2 books and preparing the notes. Exclusively basing on your notes only, I'm preparing them. నాట్ ఫ్రమ్ అవుట్ సైడ్. మీ సిలబస్లోని మీ బుక్స్ మీద డిపెండ్ అయ్యే నేను ఇవి తయారు చేస్తున్నాను. బయట నుంచి ఏమీ తయారు చేయడం లేదు. నాకు అసలు బయట ఈ విషయాలు తెలియదు. ఒక అమ్మాయి చెప్తే 2 బుక్స్ కొనుక్కొచ్చాను విజయవాడ నుంచి, మీ ఏపీ డిఎస్సి బుక్స్. అదే అమ్మాయి ఇంకోటి కూడా చెప్పింది, రెడ్ బుక్ కూడా కావాలి సార్ అన్నది. చలో అని మళ్ళీ వెంటనే అమెజాన్లో ఆర్డర్ చేశాను. రెడ్ బుక్ కూడా వచ్చింది, 500 రూపీస్. ఈ 2 బుక్స్ చదువుకొని వాటి ద్వారా ఏమి టాపిక్స్, వాట్ ఆర్ ద యాక్చువల్ టాపిక్స్ దట్ ఆర్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఫర్ ద మెథడాలజీ స్టూడెంట్స్, for the DSC students. So thinking in that way, I have prepared a big list, and I'm making videos on all of them. So this is the first video in that way. So the concept of approach, method and technique. Approach first వస్తుంది, తర్వాత approach లో నుంచి వచ్చింది మెథడ్, మెథడ్ నుంచి the technique. Approach, method, technique. So what is it? So here, what is this TPR, total physical response? So I have not given you any idea about this total physical response method. Even then, I have given this question so that you will definitely have some idea. Okay, a theoretical approach to language learning, a method that emphasizes physical movement in learning, a technique that involves memorization, a philosophy of language acquisition. So it's all like that. And with this, this small video comes to an end. And now let us move on to know the answers for all these questions. So these are the answers for the questions from 1 to 7. These are the answers for the questions from 8 to 14. These are the answers for the questions from 15 to 20th. So with this, this small video comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching this video. Right. Hello, dear DSC candidates. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you have any doubt or any problem in understanding any of these 3 things, you please make a mention of it in the comment section. I am ready to answer that then and there itself. Don't worry about that. I am for you. I am doing some selfless service for you, honest service for you. Please make use of my services and support me and encourage me. And very recently now I uploaded a video on Tempest, but only a few of you could watch those videos, Tempest 1, Tempest 2, Tempest 3 and all that. That has disappointed me a lot. I take a lot of time, I take lots of pains in the preparation of that video, but you have ignored that video. And that has disappointed me a little bit. Notice వస్తేనే అని చదువుతాను, లేకుంటే లేదు అప్పటిదాకా ఊరికనే రోడ్డు తిరుగుతానంటే దట్స్ అప్ టు యూ. సో it's a long process, it's a never ending process until and unless you just achieve your target. నీ టార్గెట్ నువ్వు పొందేదాకా దాని వెంబడి పడాలి అంతే తప్ప ఏదో నోటిఫికేషన్ రాలే కదా వచ్చినాడు చదువుతామా అనేటటువంటి ఒక బ్యాడ్ ఆలోచన నాకేం నచ్చలేదు. ఆ టెంపెస్ట్ వీడియోని చూస్తే 100 మంది కూడా చూడలేదు. ఎంతో కష్టపడి తయారు చేసిన వీడియో. నోటిఫికేషన్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత అప్పుడు బాగా ఎగబడి చూస్తుంటారు, సార్ ఇది ఏంటి సార్, అది ఏంటి సార్ అని వేధిస్తుంటారు. ఇచ్చిన ఏం మాత్రం చూస్తున్నారు మీరు? So you are not watching any of the videos with that interest that you used to have when you had the notification. నోటిఫికేషన్ ఉన్నప్పుడు ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఇప్పుడు మీరు చూపించడం లేదు. దట్ ఈస్ ఎవిడెంట్. కానీ నాలో అప్పుడు ఇప్పుడు ఒకటేలాగా ఉంది ఇంట్రెస్ట్, ఆ ఎంతూజియాజం, ఆ విగర్, అదంతా ఒకటేలాగా ఉంది. నేను ఎప్పుడు మీరు చూడపోండి, నేనైతే చేస్తూనే ఉంటాను, చూసేవాడు చూస్తుంటాడని అదే అనుకుని చేస్తూ ఉన్నాను. సో ఇట్స్ అప్ టు యూ సార్. ఐ ఆమ్ డూయింగ్ మై వర్క్ హియర్ honestly and selflessly. You do your work, that's up to you. Okay, right. Now with another beautiful video, I shall be back to you. Until then, bye, see you all of you.